welcome back to the VET S.O.S podcast, brought to you by the Who You Know Network. The VET S.O.S podcast is a proud member of the Parade Deck community. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. I've been waiting for this episode for a long time, Keith. I'm so excited to have Annie Brock on here. She runs one of the hands down best programs I did during transition, and one that I will tell everybody to do. And that's not just a shameless plug. I really love what she's got going on there and can't wait to get into it. So we got the one and only Annie Brock with us to talk to us about the Leader Transition Institute and their programs. And this is going to be a fantastic conversation. I just know it. I'm here today with Keith Cassant, sitting in for Eric again, who's out on his important mission. So how you doing today, Keith?
Living the dream as always, Shawn. And yeah, as always, great to be here. Honored to be filling in for Eric. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this episode a lot as well.
All right, so we're going to jump right into the intro, and then we're going to get to talking with Annie because I want to make sure we have as much time as possible. All right, so Annie is the president and CEO of the Leader Transition Institute. She's an Army veteran, an Air Force spouse, and a teacher and coach of all things mindset, communication, and leadership. Annie was one of the first 100 women assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division, where she was a battalion legal clerk and earned her senior jump wings. She received a direct commission to the Medical Service Corps, went to flight school, and became a medevac helicopter pilot flying Hueys and Blackhawks. As a military spouse, Annie homeschooled 2 daughters during moves across the U.S. and Europe. Along the way, she also grew herself and is a founding partner of the Maxwell Leadership Certified Team. Annie and her team launched LTI's flagship program, Changing Focus, moving from we to me in 2018. So excited to have you here today, Annie. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm really honored to be on your podcast, Shawn. Very honored. To be here with you.
To put timeline wise, I think when I did the changing from we to me, I think we were just preparing to launch this actually. And here in about a month, our 100th episode and 2-year anniversary will be coming out, and you know, it's the type of skills we learned through, you know, your program as well as a few others that really helped us be successful. So I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored.
All right, so let's start with the transition story. How was your transition?
Oh, that's so sad. And actually, the reason why I became an officer and a medevac helicopter pilot is because my first planned transition from the Army as an enlisted soldier didn't happen. There was nothing to guide me. My ETS was coming along and I had no plan. And I can remember I worked in the battalion S1, the administration center, the PAC, and I can remember going to the NCO and the OIC 30 days out from my ETS date and saying, can I please stay? Because I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm going. And so they gave me an extension on active duty. And and then they said, this is what you need to do. You don't need to stay as an enlisted soldier. We need to move you forward. So my first transition was a failed transition. My second wasn't much better. I'm old. Quite frankly, you know, I'm old. And so in 1988 is when I left the military and active duty. I got married that summer and used up all the leave that I had and was going to have for my honeymoon, for getting married and my honeymoon. We were in Germany, flew back to the United States to get married, came back, and that was in June. My ETS was at the end of September, and I literally worked up until my very last day. I turned in all my stuff to CIF, did all my clearance stuff during the day in between things that I had to do at work, and they had a little luncheon for me, and I left, and because I had been in the medevac unit, I was in Landstuhl, Germany, working at the hospital on the staff there in the administration when I left active duty, but I had come there from the medevac unit, co-located there at Landstuhl, and I had gotten an award when I left that unit. And so they told me I didn't qualify for an award at the hospital because it had only been 10 months. So I couldn't possibly have done anything that earned me anything. And so they had lunch for me on my last day, and I walked out the door and went home and woke up the next morning as an Air Force spouse. That was it. And my husband was an aircraft maintenance officer. He was a first lieutenant. He worked on the jets at Ramstein and worked the night shift. And so in the morning he went to, he was sleeping. He came home and he went to bed. And so I was up by myself. Everybody that I know worked. And we PCS'd from there in mid-December. And so I had 2.5 months to sit in a little house in a German village by myself without a vehicle because we had shipped his. And then sometimes he worked days too. And so, it was a really lonely existence for my first 2.5 months. From there, we moved to Eglin Air Force Base, and I jumped into the spouse community because we weren't financially astute, and all Jeff knew, I didn't know any of this, but all Jeff knew was that if I worked, we would pay more in taxes. So he said, don't bother getting a job. We don't need to pay more in taxes. So I had nothing to do. And here I'd been really high speed, going really fast, and with nothing to do. I jumped into the military spouse community and volunteered there. Volunteered at the Red Cross, leading their training program, and that's where I fell on my face the fastest first, was because I didn't understand that volunteers are volunteers. They might not show up. They might not do the training that you ask them to do. And so I learned some really fast leadership lessons and struggled for a long time. And because of the time period, I was a unicorn. The military spouses that I was volunteering with, they didn't work. They hadn't ever worked, or they gave up their work when they became a military spouse. And I didn't fit very well with them. And I didn't know, it wasn't their fault. I didn't know how to adjust. And so I always felt out of place, and I chased one thing after another. After the Red Cross thing didn't go real well, I started a dress baking business for myself, but then ended up on bed rest when I was pregnant with our first daughter. So can't sit at a sewing machine and be in bed at the same time. So that didn't work. And then, so when she was about 18 months, I was offered the opportunity to sell Longaberger baskets. And that sounded like it would be something fun to do because I really love baskets, and it would get me out doing something for myself once in a while. So I did that. Then I had a friend who said, people don't run out of baskets, but I sell things that come in pink bottles, and they use that on their face, and bottles get empty and they need more. And so I moved to Mary Kay and was very successful at that, became a Mary Kay sales director driving a free car. And then we moved right after I became a Mary Kay sales director and struggled with that. And so I went from one thing to another, ended up dropping the Mary Kay when we moved to what was then Pope Air Force Base at Fort Bragg, and started homeschooling our daughters, and started then really focusing on them. But just really not good. And I will tell you that I was not a stellar spouse. I was not a stellar mom. I wasn't even a stellar human being. I just did what had to be done and existed. That was my transition.
Yeah. That's a wild and crazy adventure, but I think that's what makes you so good at what you do in our space right now. Because you have not only your own personal transition story, you also have your husband's transition story that you can rely on. And then that whole process of being the military spouse brings another unique perspective to the whole thing. And just taking all of that and putting that back into the community. I personally believe that really one of the keys that makes you and LTI such a fantastic addition to this community.
Thank you. Thank you. It's part of, I don't want people to go through what I went through. I was not a happy person. And I think that the biggest challenge about that too was that nobody recognized why. I'm not sure that there would have been a solution if anybody had recognized why, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think just hearing that story too, it brings to light again, not just what veterans go through, but the military spouse. I mean, the first lady herself is now advocating heavily for military spouse employment because it's one of the, maybe but if it's not it's one of the most underemployed demographics in our country right now. Because yeah, they face those challenges of every time they move, if they don't have that 100% remote type opportunity that can follow them along the way, yeah, they're having to find new employment all over again, and it's a real problem in our country right now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as we transitioned from my husband's Air Force career in 2007 here to Maryland, I experienced, a transition in a whole different way because nobody perceived me. I didn't even see myself as a veteran. I was just strictly a military spouse. And we moved lots of different places, and I was always accepted in the military community. As soon as I said I was ready to work, they gave me whatever project they had, big or small, and I did it, and I knocked it out of the park. We did great things. But then coming to a small Maryland community, even though it's outside of a military installation, I wasn't accepted because I was an outsider. And I learned, I was trying to start my own business then, and I learned that they didn't want an outsider. And it takes a long time when you're not a part of the active military community to build your own credibility in the business community and build something for yourself. And I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, it's amazing how many stories like that are out there. Those things definitely exist within our community, and that's a shame.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and why there are lots of things that the president and CEO of an organization needs to do, and I don't get all of them done because I spend all my time trying to get people to come through our program because I know the difference that it will make for them.
That's perfect segue. Let's jump into LTI, Leader Transition Institute. And let me preface this by saying this is the program that I recommend to anybody I talk to. I fully believe in what you're doing, Annie, and what you're doing. But the thing that I want to preface this with is kind of what you were just saying about, the value, the change that's going to happen. So you're out there actively recruiting. And when you go through the program, you get to firsthand see the passion, not only from Andy, but her entire team, and how much they all believe in what they're doing and how they truly want to help people. And I think that's another piece that really makes LTI that much more special. But let's go ahead and jump into this. You tell us about LTI, and what you're trying to do with it.
So the Leader Transition Institute, we're 6 years old this year, but it's, again, one of those things that if I had understood and grown earlier, we'd be 10 years old because actually I came up with the idea for changing focus, moving from we to me at a personal growth workshop, wrote everything out that we do pretty much today, came up with the name of the program, and then got scared because I thought to myself, how can I pull this off? This is primarily for service members, but people only see me as a military spouse. And I had to really turn the script around and convince myself that I brought value as a veteran. Because what I found was when I talked to people about being a veteran, they would ask me about where I deployed. And as soon as I told them I hadn't deployed anywhere because I was a Cold War veteran, or I am a Cold War veteran, I have literally had people turn 180 degrees and walk away from me. And so I had to convince myself that I had value as a veteran to be able to reach out to veterans, because I didn't think veterans and service members were going to listen to a military spouse say, hey, you need to come through this program. So that was the first thing I had to do, and then get the courage to launch the program. But I will say that I have not done this by myself. We don't have the same team now that I started with, but each person who has been a member of our team as we went along, they are part of why we are today. They have helped to change the program, improve the program, finesse the program, and they are the heart and soul of the program. So what we do is we spend 4 days together, parts of 4 days together. We always start on a Thursday evening. We talk for about 2.5 hours about the neuroscience of change and how our mind processes change and why that's important in transitions. Then we come back on Friday at 8:30 in the morning, bright and early, and we spend all day helping people to develop and articulate their own personal purpose statement. We're all used to focusing on something for a unit, but we haven't ever focused for ourselves. So we do that. We help them develop a vision statement for the next 3 to 5 years of their life, and then start putting together a plan to put that into action. We come back at 8:30 the next morning, Saturday, and we paint for about 90 minutes now. And then because painting happens to be a very powerful metaphor for transition. And then we spend about 90 minutes talking about all of the financial aspects of transition. And that's what I've just been doing this morning, talking with our 50th cohort about all the financial things that they have to get smart on. We can't cover all the details in 90 minutes, but we can cover the areas that they have to get smart on. And this afternoon, we'll be talking about communication. People will have taken the DISC assessment, the Maxwell Leadership DISC assessment, the growth version of it. And so they're going to learn how people perceive them when they communicate and how to recognize those cues in other people. And then we'll come back tomorrow morning and talk for about 3 hours about living an intentional, purposeful life. And everything builds on itself. It's all, it's designed to all work together. When people finish the program, I get the opportunity to sign up for an individual debrief of their personal growth assessment. And not only will they learn about their communication style, they'll learn about the areas of a team the roles on a team that they are innately best suited for, and their personal values. We also let them take what's called the Money Habitudes Assessment. It's an assessment designed by Sybil Solomon, who is a psychologist in Oregon, and people learn about their money habits and attitudes so that they know that going forward. We provide that to the people who participate and their spouses and long-term partners for free. And now we've had optional sessions where we have done resume reviews and LinkedIn profile reviews, and taught advanced networking techniques on LinkedIn. We're changing that. We're going to still offer those, but those will be standalone sessions that we will offer during the month to make the days not quite so long, because like last night, by the time I got off, we'd been on for 11 hours. That's a long day for everybody.
Oh yeah. And is it, from your experience, is the painting the piece that people fear the most? I got 2 of my paintings over my shoulder here, and I knew I dreaded it. I did not want to do the painting piece, but it was one of those things that it really was therapeutic, and we actually had a lot of fun with it. And the way it's taught anybody could be an artist the way it's taught. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing because I think that is the part that they fear the most, because most people might have painted a vehicle in the military, or a ship, or an airplane, or a wall in their house, but they haven't painted something particularly so small and that's pretty detailed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a challenge, and I just love how everybody's able to do it. They do it their own way. When I post the picture later today on LinkedIn of the ones, the screenshot that we did, everybody's paintings are slightly different. And that's exactly what happens in military transition. We have a lot of commonality of experience. Some of us have been stationed at exactly the same places at the same time. We've been through the same schools, but our transitions turn out different, even though we're given some of the same guidance, because we're individuals.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, Keith, we at the MIC, Annie got all the alumni from her program together that were at the MIC. You know, some of the big names in our community, and you should have seen this picture. It's an absolute who's who of people in the transition space, and that's kind of the impact. People even in the transition space are going to this program, Keith.
And I love everything. I mean, like, so yeah, I obviously haven't been through LTI, right? So you know, coming in with, you know, newcomer eyes, if you will, and hearing the value of this program. And so my question would be, you know, playing devil's advocate, because I already know the answer, and I'm just, obviously, even before we started recording, right? We've never spoken. I'm just pretty much meeting you, even though we've been kind of connected on LinkedIn. Playing devil's advocate. So one of our listeners is, you know, any of our listeners that are in transition right now, they go through TAP. And aside from the painting piece, they might be thinking, we do a lot of this in the transition assistance program for whatever branch they're equivalent they're in. So why would they want to consider LTI on top of what they already have to do with the Department of Defense?
What I will tell you is that we cover the things that the TAP program doesn't. The DoD TAP program is designed to solve DoD's problem of how much unemployment insurance they pay back to the states. And so they teach service members exactly what they need to go get a job and access their VA benefits. And we teach them the things that they don't, because the areas where we all struggle the most is in our self-concept, in communicating and connecting with other people, and understanding that life is about more than just what we do for a living. So that's where we focus on.
Yeah, I love it. And I needed that. I mean, I needed what you had, but I think I was retiring probably right as LTI was starting to get kicking off, and
Well, you know what, Keith, you're welcome to participate. I will tell you that one of the key things about our program is that we welcome every service member, regardless of their service, of their rank, of their specialty, because there are some programs out there that do similar things to us, but they are for specialty communities. And we also welcome spouses, either with their service member and veteran or on their own. And these other programs, not all the other programs welcome spouses. And we also welcome veterans of any era with any kind of discharge. And we've had that attitude from the very beginning. And there's one particular reason why. And that is because of me. Not because I'm so special, but it's because there was no transition program when I was on active duty. There were no special spouses programs. They all started ramping up when we left active duty. I'm not a post 9/11 veteran, so I don't qualify for the veterans programs that exist. And I was like, darn it, this is not right. There's all kinds of good things, and I don't qualify for any of it. So I'm just going to have everybody be eligible for our program.
Yeah, and what Bruce Thompson just recently went through, one of the more recent cohorts, and then like in my cohort, one of the participants had been out several years.
Well, I will tell you that last year we had somebody come through who left active duty 33 years before.
Wow.
And he said we changed his life.
That is awesome. So for this life-changing experience, how much do I have to kick out of my pocket? How much is this going to cost me to do, Annie?
It's going to cost you your time.
What?
It's free. It's free for everybody. We send you a box of supplies that has everything in it that you need. You get a workbook, you get pens, paint, all the painting supplies that you need, everything except for a cup of water. We send you the extra tasks requirements that you need. Put in some snacks and some candy and send it off. And we'll send it anywhere in the world. I've sent them all over Europe, sent them to Japan and Korea, because in some cohorts, we have people participating from the Pacific Theater and from Europe at the same time. It's all free. We have number one, our board members all contribute a big sum every year. That's part of their requirement as a board member. And they know that when they apply for our board. And we have a wonderful pool of donors that contribute reliably to us. And we love them, whether they are contributing a small amount or a large amount. But then we also, our Changing Focus teaching team, we are also a corporate and government teaching team, and we do training for corporate and government organizations in the areas of leadership and communications, and that's how we create the bulk of our money, and that's what pays for it, so it can be free, because I don't think that anybody should have to pay for what the government should be giving them for free. Because, you know, we get blued, greened, whatever color you want to, that's associated with your service. That happens over time. The government does that very purposefully, because that's what's required to create a pool of service members who can function as a team to do their jobs, but they don't undo that on the way out. And they should. They owe it to us. And so I won't charge anybody for what we do.
Best part about the package is it's like getting a care package downrange. It came with snacks and all kinds of stuff, Keith.
That's awesome. I'm telling you what. Well, first of all, I gotta drop the truth bomb. I know she's already finished saying it, but I mean, just everything she just said, that was whoo. Oh, spitting fire on that one. I mean, I'm serious. I'm gonna look into it. I mean, I've heard about it and everything, but I didn't realize it was, you know, I didn't realize it was free. And I didn't realize it was something that even now could be. I'm sold. I'm gonna check this out. I think I'm gonna actually have my wife check it out with me.
Great.
You know, I think both of us. Yeah, I think both of us could really could benefit from something like this. Now, just something like that, like especially for a transitioning service member, maybe they do want their spouse to do it. Is it easy to get into the same cohort with your spouse and get, you know, make sure you're working? Okay.
Yeah, it's very easy. People can apply, you know, to everybody has their own individual registration, and they can just, both of them apply for the same cohort. For some families that works, and for some families that doesn't. And so, yep, that works. And one of the things that we also do is we're not one and done. We stay connected with our alums, and we offer follow-on training. For example, this month we have a couple of book studies on important books. One book on leadership qualities, personal growth qualities, and then another one. We're doing a study of the book Crucial Conversations, and we offer that in a paid version to everybody that exists on this planet, but we offer it to our alums for free.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've read the Crucial Conversations. That's a great book. No, and I love it. In fact, I think even if nothing else, the communication section portion of the class, maybe I can learn to communicate a little bit better with my wife. I think there's always strengths and purpose to that.
Yeah, and one of the keys why we think that is so important is because when people can learn to recognize the cues, and that's why we use the DISC. A lot of people have done the Myers-Briggs over the time of their military career, and so they understand something about their personality style, but I can't recognize from looking at them what that is to be able to interact with them better. But by learning about DISC, I can then recognize in other people some cues that help me to communicate with them better. And that's key in the interview process, to be able to understand the basics of DISCs so that I can understand maybe a little more quickly the personality style of the person who's interviewing me, so I can do a better job and get that job that I really want.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that speaks beautifully to I tell folks as a hiring manager, like my job isn't necessarily to pick the quote unquote most qualified candidate, right? My job is to pick the best fit, right? The best fit for our team, our culture that we're trying to maintain or create. And that's really hard to do from a stack of 20 resumes. Yeah, and you get somebody that could come in and connect with me on a different level than everybody else. It gives you a leg up on. It's the halo effect, right? It's proven thing. So
it sure is.
Annie, this has been such an amazing session. We could go another 30 minutes and beyond. Yeah, I'm loving this. Unfortunately, we are at time. So no, it was absolutely amazing having you on here. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. And so with that said, you know, obviously there's the website and stuff going across the screen, but how can people, first of all, sign up for LTI program, but also if they have other questions or things that they may want to reach you about, is there any way that folks might be able to reach out to you as well?
Sure. The best thing to do is to go to our website, leadertransitioninstitute.org, click on the Changing Focus tab up at the top, and it'll take you to our information page. People can also email me at admin@leadertransitioninstitute.org. It's Alpha Delta Mike India November @leadertransitioninstitute.org, and I would love to talk with them.
I think you're
the connect with me on LinkedIn.
I think you're the first person to use the phonetic alphabet on the show. Fantastic. Hey, real quick though, before we let you go, how can people help LTI?
Number one, spread the word that we exist, that it's an important program to go through. And we're always looking for people to help us behind the scenes. And so that those are the two big things: to spread the word so we can serve the people who need us, and then to help us behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And I'll continue to sing the praises, Annie. I love the program. I tell everybody it is by far the best program I did during transition. And I love what you guys got going on. And definitely look forward to continuing, because I've gotten to take a couple of the extra courses and stuff that you guys have going on. So I'm always looking forward to the next offering.
Well, we're going to be painting next Friday night, May 10th. We're going to be painting. That's one of the things that we do too. We offer a quarterly painting session. So I think that if that's not on our website, it will be on our website by the end of the weekend.
Outstanding.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll be doing stick figures. My wife's the artist in that area. I'll be doing stick figures and whatever else. So
drawing a snowman in the snowstorm.
Exactly. Yep. So, Annie, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And to everyone listening, thank you so much on behalf of the VET S.O.S family. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Please be sure to follow and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. And remember, as always, do not drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline.